In this video, I'm going to give you a checklist of 3 things to do before you release your music. Hi folks, I'm Mike and I hope you're well. So you've poured your heart and soul into recording and mixing your music, and finally you're ready to release it to the world. Now for that, you're going to need to use a distributor. I've mentioned on several occasions before that my preferred distributor is DistroKid, and for me it's really a no-brainer, especially if you're just starting out. They release to all of the major platforms including Spotify, iTunes, Google, Amazon, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. And they do that for $19.99 per year for unlimited song or album uploads, and you get to keep 100% of the royalties. So as I say, really a no-brainer. Now when it comes to the process of actually uploading your songs to distribute them to those different platforms, it's really done in a simple process on one straightforward form, and you really walked through the process on that form. Now I've made videos about that before and I'll put links to those in the description down below. However, there's a few things that you do have to have ready, in my opinion, before you get to that form and start the release process, and I'm going to be going through them in 3 checklist points today. Now I must say that these don't include marketing tips of any kind. There's any number of marketing tasks that you can do to build up a bit of hype before your release. I'm going to be sticking to the practical tasks which I really think you have to do before you go to that form and start releasing your music. So let's get started with checklist item number 1.
1.
So number 1 on my list is mastering. Now I don't have many shoulds on this channel, but I really believe that your music should be mastered before you release it to the world. Now you can do it yourself, and I've made some videos for that. I'll put links for those in the description down below. It includes steps like EQing, dynamic saturation, stereo imaging, but I feel like all of those are reasonably optional compared to the one thing that I think you must do, and that's make sure that you're meeting the loudness requirements for the various platforms that we'll be releasing to. Now the issue is they all have slightly different requirements, and you're only going to be uploading one file for distribution. So we need to find a happy compromise. So I'm going to suggest the following values to you. These are the values that I always go for when I'm mastering my songs and releasing them on DistroKid. First of all, I aim for a true peak value of -1 dB, and then I aim for a LUFS value of -14 dB. Now the LUFS value could be -13 or -15. You don't have to be absolutely precise, but I aim for -14 dB. Now I use these values because these are the specifications for Spotify. Now the other platforms may be slightly different, but these are still going to be acceptable for those other platforms. So how are you going to achieve that? Well, you're mostly going to achieve it through the use of a limiter and adjusting the threshold in your limiter. That's a relatively simple task, but you're going to need to monitor what you're achieving. So for that, I'd suggest a free plugin called Voxengo Span. Now this has the ability to monitor the true peak value as well as the LUFS value. So you're going to have to keep playing your song and adjusting your limiter until you're reaching those values. Now in practice, the plugin which I actually use is Ozone Maximizer. Now unfortunately this doesn't come as a standalone plugin. You need to get it as part of one of Isotope's bundles. So I'll put some links for those bundles in the description down below. The reason I love this plugin is because it just makes it so straightforward and easy for me. I simply set my true peak value, and then I set my target value for LUFS, which is -14 dB, and then I press the learn threshold button and I simply play my track. Now it adjusts the threshold of the limiter in this plugin until it's meeting those requirements. It's kind of automated. This sort of gives me peace of mind that I'm definitely reaching the values I should be reaching before release. Now of course, if you don't want to do it yourself, you can send it off to a mastering engineer, and if you can afford that, it may well be worth doing, because obviously they're experts in their field. They've got specialized equipment and they really know what they're doing. Now you can also use automated services like Lander, and if you really find that you've given it a go yourself and you're not really going well with the whole mastering process, then you can go ahead and use Lander. But I personally believe that if you persevere a little bit, you can probably achieve the same results yourself as you get with a service like Lander. That's just my personal opinion. So definitely give it a go yourself and keep those values in mind when you're mastering.
2.
So once we've mastered our song, we'll need to export it to a single file to upload to DistroKid. Now this may seem like a fairly straightforward task, and it is, but there are a few things that I want you to keep in mind. First of all, in terms of the setting for bit depth and sample rate, I would keep these exactly the same as whatever you used when you were recording your song in your DAW. We don't want to lower them at this point because we would lose quality if we did that, and we don't want to raise them and try and artificially improve our quality. That's not really going to work. So just keep them at the same settings. Now, if you do feel forced to change them for whatever reason whatsoever, make sure you make use of any dithering algorithms you've got available in your DAW for exporting. That's going to help you to avoid artifacts when you're changing those values. Now, the next thing I want to mention, I've seen a few people do this and don't do it. Do not export to MP3. I know this is a really popular format. It makes really small file sizes, but you do reduce the quality when you do that. Now, bear in mind that once our songs reach the different platforms, they are going to be re-encoded to streaming formats, and they'll lose a little bit of quality there. So we want to deliver them to those platforms at the highest possible quality. So I recommend exporting to a WAV file or some other lossless format. That's a really big one. Make sure you do that. You're going to have a huge file to upload. It's going to take a little bit longer, but it's definitely worth it in the long run. So before we move on to the final item on my checklist, I've just got some quick bonus tips for you. The first one is, if you haven't signed up for DistroKid yet, consider using the link in the description down below. That's my VIP link, and that's going to get you a further 7% off of your first year of membership. It's cheap enough already. You'll be getting it even cheaper. The next thing I'd like to suggest with all of your releases is also upload the lyrics with them. DistroKid gives you this option, and some of the platforms enable people to see the lyrics as they're listening to the music. I just think it's a really nice extra added point of interest for your fans to look at those lyrics and try and get inside your head and see what you were thinking when they're listening to that music. Now, the other thing I need to suggest, if you are uploading cover songs, and by the way, DistroKid does allow you to upload cover songs, music written by other people. You do have to pay a small fee of $12 per year per cover song. I think that's really worth it considering you are using someone else's material. But if you do that, it's going to ask you on the form about who the original composer or songwriter is. Now, you may think that you know who that is because that song has become famous by a particular person, but sometimes they're not actually the original composer. So you'll need to check that out. Now, I'm putting some links in the description down below for some resources to find out who the original writers were of pieces of music. So definitely follow those links, do your research before you upload those cover songs.
3.
So the third item on my list is artwork. You're going to need some artwork to go along with the music for your release. Now, I'm not going to give you advice on the creative aspects of this, except to say I would tend to be consistent with the way that you show your name, whether it's a band name or an individual name or a solo artist name. I would be consistent in terms of the font that you use across the release itself through to your web page, your Twitter account, your YouTube channel, your Facebook page, all of those different places. I just think, in my opinion, it looks a little bit more professional if you don't use different styles and different places where you show your name. Now, in terms of the technical specification, it needs to be a square image, and DistroKid suggests a size of around about 3000 by 3000 pixels. Now, don't get tempted to grab an old picture which is 1000 by 1000 and just expand it up. You'll end up with a poor quality image which runs the risk of being refused by some of the platforms that you're trying to get released on. You don't really want to run that risk. Now, do make sure that whatever image you use, that you've got permission to use it. This is not a good time to jump on Google image search, find an image you like and simply go ahead and use it. It's more than likely that you're going to be breaking some copyright laws, and you really don't want the hassle of that further on down the line. It's a good idea, perhaps if you can't employ a professional photographer, to use a friend who's good with photography and just get some nice quality images of yourself or something else which you think represents your music. Now, if you haven't got any of those things at your disposal, if you're not very artistic or you haven't got a friend who can create some art for you, then I definitely suggest using a website called Canva. There you can use various different free or paid templates, and you can create album artwork there really easily. I've tried it myself in the past. It's really fun to use. It's very inspiring, and you can more often than not find something which is going to suit your style of music. So if you haven't signed up for DistroKid yet, make sure you use the VIP link in the description down below so that you get that 7% discount. Now, if you do go ahead and release some music, or perhaps you've already released some music, let me know about it in the comments down below. I absolutely love to hear the music that you guys have been creating, and it's my absolute pleasure to share it for you as well. Now, if you've got any questions at all, please do ask in the comments down below, and I'll try my very best to help you out. If you found this video useful, make sure you hit the like button for me. Do it right away so that you don't forget. And also, if you like this kind of content in general, make sure you subscribe and ring the bell on YouTube so that you're notified about my future videos. Now, if you'd really like to help this channel out, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com. I've got a link for that in the description down below. And for as little as $1 per month, you can help me help you by making more videos like this. Talking of videos, I'll see you in the next video.